Poverty. Everyone has seen it. The trash, the sewage, the tin can houses, the mud huts. We hear about the corruption of governments, and the genocides, and the wars, and on and on. These are the things that we think of when we hear of poverty. And yes, all of these things are true, and they are horrible, and we as human beings should take more notice of it. This cycle of poverty has existed since the beginning and has not yet been broken. But this is not what our story is about. The well-wishers of this world continue to send money and food, yet after centuries, the cycle of poverty remains. And while this method provides basic necessities that are keeping millions of people alive, it lacks a permanent, sustainable end. There is, however, a different way, not a cycle, but a way out. This movement is known as microfinance.
Microfinance, let's think of that as financial services for the poor. So think about the things that your bank provides for you, and that includes savings and loans and insurance and all those little products. Think of how those would be tailored to the needs of somebody that makes a few dollars a day.
Microcredit, if you will, fits under the broader scheme of microfinance. Microcredit specifically are the loans that go out to the very poor who have otherwise no access to credit.
It's worth noting this has been around for a long time. I mean, people have been providing small loans to each other in various forms forever.
The modern movement of microfinance is accredited to a man in Bangladesh named Dr. Mohammed Yunus. Since 1976, the microfinance model has spread throughout the world. It has changed the approach that organizations take towards poverty alleviation.
There is a shift. There is a shift. And really, the old way has been exactly what I mentioned earlier, that there's a very top-down approach to development, and a new way is simply a bottom-up approach to development. And it's changing, it's transforming. Specifically, the IMF, the World Bank, all those major institutions are now changing a lot of their approaches towards poverty eradication.
One of the forerunners to this movement is Kiva, an organization co-founded by Jessica Flannery. They are a web-based organization that allows anyone to give a microcredit loan to indigenous entrepreneurs all over the developing world.
People browse these profiles and are able to lend as little as $25 to the loan need. Kiva passes that money along to these microfinance institutions all around the world that we partner with, that then actually does the real hard work and administers the loan to the goat herder or the seamstress that lender has specified. You know, it trains them, collects repayments, does all of the real in the field, on the ground work with that person. And over time, let's say the loan term is a year, maybe they'll collect repayments every few weeks from the entrepreneur, and then they'll repay Kiva every few months. And throughout the whole course of it, lenders are hearing how things are going. So they're getting repayment updates. Ideally, they're getting some qualitative stuff too, like a photo of, you know, the new goat or the new sewing machine, and anecdotal stories about how things are changing in that person's life and in their family's life.
An up-and-coming NGO is the 1010 Project, founded by Andrew Syed.
Upon some initial research in East Africa, the 1010 Project came into being because we found that people in East Africa, specifically Kenya, were not waiting on the rest of the world to come and save them. And so we wanted to establish and build partnerships with individuals, community-based organizations, others who were working in their own communities to break the cycle of poverty. The reason we work in the microfinance field is not because that's what we intended necessarily to do, but we found that was already working amongst local communities. So for example, community-based organizations, CBOs, were already engaged in trying to generate a pool of resources that they could loan out to some of their members, and we were just able to come alongside, build a partnership, and grow a pool of resources so that more loans could be given out and more businesses started, more people then obviously coming out of poverty.
1010's work is primarily focused in Kenya, which is situated in East Africa. It is surrounded by Somalia, Ethiopia, Sudan, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. The population is near 40 million. The capital, Nairobi, was originally a watering hole for the Maasai tribe until the British settled there when building a railway from Mombasa to Uganda. It is now the largest city between Cairo and Johannesburg. Michael Nyangi is 28. He started a community-based organization, or CBO, known as Lomoro, which is located in the second largest slum in the world, Kibera. He has helped start over 60 businesses in the last 3 years. Fred Afuai and his wife Alice operate a school and an orphanage. They are the country representatives for 2 non-government organizations, or NGOs. They have founded a network of CBO leaders who meet once a month and collaborate with one another, finding solutions to the problems that hinder their prosperity. Michael and Fred partner with Andrew to form a network of indigenous entrepreneurs and community-based organizations. They have dedicated their lives to breaking the cycle of poverty. Through the work of these 3 individuals, we will explore a small portion of what microfinance is doing in one section of the world.
Everyone knows about Kibera. It's the world's largest slum and 1.5 million people and so on and so forth. But in the middle of Kibera is a friend of ours, Michael Nyangi, and he's a young guy who came to Kibera from up country looking for work. He's found training as a CPA, and he looked around again and saw a lot of need, orphans and HIV and poverty, and really wanted to do something about it. And so as a CPA and someone that's interested in finance and numbers, he started a CBO called Lomoro, and they started with just a few members, 5 to 10 members, all were giving about 20 shillings. Since then, he's expanded his CBO to some almost 100 members. They've started over 60 businesses, and some of them are large, if you will, and some of them just small kiosks along the side of the road. But they each one represent people who are taking small steps coming out of poverty. And Michael is really the one responsible for that. And his dream is to open a bank eventually that will really specifically target those who are very, very poor so they can have access to credit to just get a chance at life, if you will.
Before giving the loan, we normally educate these people on how to start the business, ways of doing the business, and we have to go and see what the person is doing. There are some people who are already doing the business, and some are also willing to start the business. As you know that in Kibera, most of the businesses are just along the road, where people are just selling, some of them vegetables, some have got small canteens, some groceries. We have got the carpenters, the carpentry along the road. Some are also selling compacts and CDs, and people come and buy. And it's through that they normally manage to cater for their meals, pay for their house rent, and also to care for their children.
Microloans are the result of individuals joining a CBO because they recognize the need for potential growth. These individuals usually have their own business started, yet are unable to grow it due to lack of access to financial services.
As a new member who is willing to join Lomoro, he has seen what the beneficiaries of Lomoro are doing, and is somehow very much interested to join Lomoro. You can see how people within the slums are very, very busy, because if you're not very busy, then you cannot make a living. So this is now what they are now doing. But you see, they are now doing it in an open place, which means when it is raining, when it is too hot, then they cannot work. So I think Lomoro will come in once he will join Lomoro. Then from there, we'll see if you realize more money, then we'll be able to help them so that at least they can work under building.
Yeah, my name is Maurice. Yeah, I'm a carpenter. This is the part of the job we do. We have a lot of experience and knowledge to do so many different things, but lack of money. So you can't afford, because most of our customers, they lack ready-made. They come for ready-made things. When they come, they ask for the price for the things you have made. So we get hard time sometimes when we don't have enough cash to spend on the material and the things. The other thing, the type of the job you are doing, it needs machine work. If we can manage to get these small machines, I think it can make us prosper.
The way Michael has structured Lamoro is it's his job, it's what he does, and so the proceeds, if you will, that are coming in from the loans, some of the interest on these loans is how he gets paid, and he spends his days checking up on them, offering consulting, offering advice, making sure that the businesses are moving forward as they should.
Another common method that CBOs use is a group lending model. The major difference of this model is that the group collectively decides who will be given the loans and no one takes a salary.
We have individuals who come together. They share their problems together. When they share their problems together, they ask of how can we do to solve our problems. Some of them, they start by having a group, asking a group to contribute some money. When they contribute some money, within the group they start to loan people some money to either expand their businesses or start their businesses. As they continue to refund the money, they will now give to other people in the group.
Most of these are sort of a communal-based organization or community-based organization that really employs the members to make decisions, and so the pool of money is sitting there, and there is leadership. There is a president of the CBO, if you will, there's a treasurer, so on and so forth. But the membership sort of makes a decision on who gets the next round of loans. But in each of these, there has to be research done and thought done into, thought committed to what are you going to do with this loan, and how are you going to be able to pay the loan back, and how are you going to have a business that's sustainable over the long haul.
Individuals find a trustworthy group of people to network with. Mother's Concern is a CBO voluntarily operated by Immaculate Mwangi. Partnering alongside Lomoro, Mother's Concern offers microfinance services and trains young women with different skill sets in order to provide for their families.
It's very hard to get a job in Kenya. There are so many learned people in Kenya by their job race. Okay, it's hard. I've never been employed, so I can't tell. Mostly I do businesses.
If people are in the slums and they are left to look for jobs, they will not get the jobs because the jobs are not there. That's why we encourage people now to be starting small businesses that can help them earn a living, and that's what most of our people have been doing, and they have been doing very well. So that's why we normally tell our people that instead of looking white-collar job, then they should engage themselves in business that at least can help them now to earn a living, so that you'll find that at the end of the day, somebody can pocket something in.
I think a business is good rather than a job, because if I am employed today, I'll get my payment at the end of the month. But a business, I'll be getting my money each and every day.
Beatrice operates a takeaway food business in Kayole.
She's Beatrice.
So she was given 1,000 and the business is doing very well so far. If she can get another loan, she can even do better. So that she can feed these children.
So the level of poverty that exists, it's abject poverty that exists in a lot of the developing countries where Kiva has microfinance partners and where microfinance is so needed. There is this group of people that is often really unbanked, and it's frequently because they have no collateral. If you really start to imagine what someone's life has been like and what generations before them, what their families' lives have been like. Imagine someone's living in a very rural area. They maybe own, and maybe they don't even technically own, they have no paperwork for it or anything, the land that they live on. Their home is made out of the earth itself anyway. It's mud walls and a thatch roof. Maybe there are some animals. Maybe there's something growing in the field that in a few months could be harvested. I mean, there are not a lot of assets, if you will, that they can go take to a bank and then use as collateral to get a loan and to have an opportunity to do something more. So for a lot of those folks, microfinance is the only option.
Banks have got their own conditions. Banks have got their own conditions. For example, you'll find that most of these banks, for them to give you the loan, you must have an account with them. And you must be saving with them for a period of 6 months. Failure to do so, then they cannot be given any loan. In Kenya, to open an account is a lot of money. For example, you might find that most of the banks, they will need at least 1,500 or 2,000 for somebody now to have an account with them. And people are now in the slums, for them to get this 2,000 at a time will take them time. It's not very, very easy.
When you're poor, there's no money to save. And we always talk about, well, people wouldn't be poor if they could put some money aside and save for the long term. Well, that's fine and all when you have expendable income to actually put aside and then obviously practice the discipline of saving. But when you live on less than $1 a day, how much can you realistically put aside when basic life, survival each day is so raw?
When we hear that someone lives on less than $2 a day, that figure is normally found by using the purchasing power parity. This equation compares the price of a basket of goods between two countries. Therefore, $2 a day actually means $2 a day.
It's an imperfect science, to be sure, but it suggests that when we say someone is earning or living on $1 a day or less, it gives us something to grab a hold to and reference to and say, that's almost, if not completely impossible to live on $1 a day. How do they do it? Well, these are the poorest of the poor.
Those who live below the poverty line are said to live in absolute poverty. Absolute poverty is defined by the lack of access to basic essential needs. Microfinance institutions provide the poor with financial services in hopes that through this process, the other needs will be met. It is common for CBOs to partner with and receive additional funding from NGOs. Michael partners with 1010. He uses the money to provide microcredit loans to the members of Lomoro.
In fact, there's a widow. We just, the husband died just recently. She's staying down here in the slums. I approached her and she was very interested to start a business. Okay. I was with her here in the morning and he told me that he wanted to start a business just close here along the road.
Sasa sioni kama ni mbali sana. Sababu mimi natafuta chakula. Watoto wasibe na waende shule. Sasa najaribu tu kidogo kidogo ndio at least nipate vile naweza kukaa.
I gave her the loan and once you have been given the loan, I think what you have to do is you have to make sure that the materials are there. Like I've seen he has bought the firewood, I've seen he has bought the jiko. So I think he's just in the process of starting.
Kakatimo kaneno kakode. Kuro kakatimo matini kaneno kakode. Koro kode maber. Tasongo.
Charles is an example of someone who has built a successful business using microcredit services, and his building doubles as Michael's office. Last year, this building was destroyed in a fire.
I just make all beds, all types of beds. And all types of furniture. Example, like a wall unit, table, chairs, dining chairs. Also, I'm selling the VCDs and the compacts. Wakati huo walikuwa na kupitia, walichoma many of business ya watu. Sasa it is not this space only. Walichoma wengi. Walikuwa vijana wanakuja usiku na wanachoma mahali. There is many of things. Walikuwa wanafanya kitu kama yani kuumisa tribe fulani. Sasa hiyo ni kitu ilikuwa inaendelea. Lakini bado we have imani to go mbele.
One of the struggles that faces Kenya and other parts of Africa is that many issues are still based on ethnic distinctions. The three largest tribes in Kenya are the Kikuyu, Luhya, and Luo. Because of his relationship with Lomoro, and because of Lomoro's relationship with Tenten, Charles receives the money necessary to rebuild his business within weeks, and is again providing for his community and his family.
Many of our CBOs are not necessarily microfinance or microcredit organizations, but they are organizations like orphanages or churches who are engaged in community development, schools, these types of groups. And these entities are not necessarily in the business of starting small businesses. So the way we connect with them is through IGAs, income generation activities. And what we ask an indigenous orphanage to do is take a grant and think about developing something that can generate some sort of income for the orphanage.
We go across town to the Korogosho slum, where Pastor Erastus uses several different income generation activities to help sustain his orphanage.
One day, one lady came to our church with the two children. Then, after the service, the mother disappeared and left the two children in the church. So after the service, now the children, the other people, were to leave to go, and the children remained in the church. So I was to take care. I went and report the matter to the administration, but they told me to stay with the children. So that is how we started the orphans that now we are having. Through our income generating, we are able to get some money to feed the children that we are taking care.
Erastus grows mushrooms, sells chickens, and has a tailored training program as part of his IGAs.
If someone helps you to start an income generating, it's better than someone who say, I'll be giving every month, because now you'll know how you can survive by yourself. When the sponsor has now withdrawn, now you can continue yourself. So my appeal is, if at all we can have someone who can help us in the income generating, I will be a happy man.
Just across the way, Pastor Brown uses income generation activities as well.
We also have a tailoring and dressmaking school. We started 2 years ago to train the young people in the community, those who have just come from school, and to give them skills so that we can empower them, so that they can be competitive, in the job market, some to start their own business and others to be employed. So for now, we have had about 50 graduates who have left the tailoring and dressmaking school, and many of them are making a difference in their own lives and in the community as a result of the training.
These different types of models are very dependent upon what the CBO itself needs, but what's important to note here is it's still moving toward a long-term sustainability, hopefully moving closer to a dependency not necessarily on external resources, but on internal resources that already exist.
The place where IGAs are most prominent is in rural areas. We head across the Rift Valley to Western Kenya.
In 2003, we did some research in the rural area of Mwani, Nyando district out west, and this area is the poorest district in Kenya. It's had the highest HIV/AIDS rate in the country. There were kids everywhere that didn't have parents because their parents had died, most likely of AIDS. And we found a place called St. Luke's Ministry. And St. Luke's was founded by Joshua and Abigail Atieno, And they looked around their community and saw a lot of widows and a lot of orphans and really wanted to try to meet that need. But they weren't people of means themselves, but they just began to take some people in. We've seen an amazing progression because Abigail and Joshua, now who's come back, have been able to take this work and really grow it. Joshua really has a vision to reach out to his entire community, some 10,000 people, and wanting to create jobs in a rural area. It's an amazing work of some great people without a lot of resource that we've been able to partner with, and they've taken that little bit of resource and grown it into an amazing thing.
Agriculture is the backbone of Kenya's economy, and we want to train our orphans to have positive attitude towards agriculture. We have, it's around 15 acres here for agriculture, and this is supporting about 3,500 members of the community, because they come here and they buy vegetable, and that really supports them also. They'll come here to buy fish, that supports them.
Using his expertise in agriculture, Joshua grows arrowroots, rice, and various other farming goods. His latest income generation activity is fish farming.
The other pond, which has 1,500 fish, the cost was about $400 US dollars. And the feeding, from the time I put them up to now, we have spent about 15 or 10,000 shillings. And so with this one, which has 1,500, so if they grow well, within 6 months, I sell one fish at 100 shillings, okay? So 1,500, it is simple math now. 1,500 times 100, that's 150,000 I will have got. So take away 50,000, 100,000 shillings will be in my pocket. So I can buy anything I want with my 100,000. And if it was any other crop, I cannot get 100,000 in this small portion of land. No. If it is sugarcane, it has to be 10 acres of sugarcane is when I will get 100,000. But it's a very small place, and it can give me 100,000 within 6 months. I mean, that is a hidden blessing that everybody should, get into. It's a good business.
You can make macro level change from the bottom up when you impact one group or one individual or one community, that then spreads out to other communities and other individuals and other people, and so that's sort of what we call 1+1.
This idea of connectivity is absolutely what we are about. So kind of the secret to Kiva is like the money's important. It's certainly important for life change in terms of the entrepreneur. But the real secret, the real thing that we hope comes out of all of this is changing people's lives and changing the way they think about each other. So if we can change the way lenders are thinking about somebody who does have this need for a loan, somebody who's poor, we can blur those lines between, lender and borrower and a wealthy person and a poor person. And, if we can blur those lines and break those barriers down, then I think that's the real goal, that's the real work. And just changing the way people think about each other, I think, is going to have endless positive, redemptive effects in the world.
There's so much. The problem's so big, I can't do anything. And the idea behind 1+1 is, yes, you can. Each one of us can. It may be a little step. If we can change one heart, one life, that life will change one other or two. 1+1 is not being frozen into inaction because the problem is too big. It's trying to take advantage of the opportunities to do something that are at every one of our fingertips every day. Grab it, seize it, do something with it, make a difference. One life, one heart at a time.
There's so many ways and we all know this, that you can do things immediately, really, like right now. Like stop watching this video and go do one thing. And do that every day. And if you keep doing, this is the other part that's really fun. If you actually dedicate yourself to that and keep doing one thing after another, you'll learn how to do that one thing better and better and better. And you'll learn how to do more things. And maybe someday you put those together and you get other people involved and say, hey, do this thing that I do every day. It's worth it. Here's why.
Nothing happens without risk, you know, and until we face risk and step out, then the status quo will always remain. And the status quo in this world is just not good enough. And so I'm hoping there are more people out there that want to take risks and risk their lives, risk their financial future, risk their security to try to leave this world a better place than the way they found it. And that's really my goal, is to, at the end of the day, have a little bit of the world a little bit better because I got to spend some time here. And if that's the case, then that's all I can ask for.
Is there always a way to do what's right? Lend some love for a better life. If I took a stand and joined the fight,